Hey, Studio 108 community, it's Tracy here. Thanks for following. I'm sitting with Mike, and you know Mike. He's here on Sundays with Ruby for Kundalini Yoga. He's here on Tuesdays and Thursdays once in a while when he can to practice with me. But you might not know all the other places he is. And so, yeah, we want to sit down and kind of hash it out.
Yeah.
You want to hash it out from the Kundalini Yoga conversation side, which I think is the humanity.
Yeah. And I'm not super very many other places but here, but I'm trying to change that, and I teach a class at Edgewater during the summer on Friday nights at 6 o'clock. Usually get going about 6:15. So it's like give people time to group up and get themselves situated and explain the kind of rules of the road, if you will, for like the newcomers of so it's not a total culture shock, I guess. Since it's different than what people are used to if they're used to like yoga in a conventional sense.
Right. Well, I think that there are a couple things that calls to mind. First of all, community yoga versus studio yoga.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that. I taught at the home days on the ballpark.
Yep.
And we offer the free yoga on the square on Fridays. And there's community yoga, which has a different vibe to it. And some people have never been to a studio. They're just community yoga kinds of people. And so that's kind of groovy because they're finding ways in their everyday life and in their world to access some practices. And that's super cool. But when you're teaching in a studio and then you're out in the community, you do have to kind of go over the lay of the land for that reason. And then also Kundalini yoga versus like all the other kinds of yoga.
Right. Is like it's so different. And what I love about like the community yoga aspect where it's like people just kind of like showing up, is like people like leading with their curiosity. And it's like if you're leading with curiosity and an open mind, like I can work with that.
Well, yeah, that's half the practice.
Right.
Right.
So it's like if you're coming to a studio, you're kind of like set in like what you want to do. You have like a kind of intention what you're going to. If like you're just stumbling across it at Edgewater, you might not. But it's like if you got that open mind, it's I was telling somebody on Friday, I think it's my favorite human quality is open-mindedness because you can work with it. It's like you can find common ground. You find it like we were talking about today in class, like you come together over your differences. You figure out what the differences are and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't think of it like that, and then just you find a new way to like look through a lens. You don't have to move through the world like that, but it's like, oh, let me see how they're looking through the world.
Yeah, let's look out their window for a minute
and
see what the world looks like.
Yeah.
I love what you're saying. Like to me, that open-mindedness is like an IQ. It's like an intelligence.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can raise it. You can become more open-minded.
Well, the first word you used was curiosity.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I love practicing with you is that you're so obviously a curious, open-minded person because you research different questions about why we're doing different things in class and where the different meridians are and what kind of energies behind it and what kind of physical like health benefits are behind it. Like you're just clearly a curious, open-minded individual. So then when you're sitting in class with Mike, you're like, I learn so much and I'm able to relate to what's going on in my practice with this sense of intelligence and curiosity too, but I didn't have to do the work you did.
Yeah.
that's the best part.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody yesterday and I'm like, you think you can like overwhelm people with information? He's like, I don't think you could put too much information in your class because you don't know what they're going to grab onto.
And everybody grabs onto something different.
Right. And it's really interesting the feedback I get after classes of like, oh, when you said this and when you said this. And in my mind, it wasn't even like the kind of point I was trying to drive home. It was just like the kind of aside to get there. And that's what resonates with people. So you don't know. And so I just kind of word vomit on the class with the information. And because for it to land with me, I have to know on some level, like, what is this doing? Where is this going? I know what my experience is feeling. And then it's interesting to kind of bring in that information behind that experience.
100%.
You know what I mean? I'm having the experience first. And then after that, it's like, oh, well, this was happening and this was like moving down my leg in this way. And it's like, okay, well, what connection do I have from my diaphragm through my leg? And, you know, it's like, that's how I start going down these rabbit holes, is from my experience first. And then it leads me wherever it leads me. And it's led me to a lot of play. I've learned a lot about human anatomy from doing Kundalini I did not learn in my training. It's just like learning.
Open-minded curiosity.
Yeah.
Follow the pull, tug the string, follow the thread.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the other thing that really makes you a great teacher, is that you have a personal practice.
Yeah.
So you have an experience to draw from. When you teach Kundalini Yoga, they say that as a teacher, you gain 80% of the practice that your students are doing. Like, that's your gift. But the responsibility is to do your own practice. So the only way the students can get 80% of their Kriya is if I've done it and I'm teaching through my experience. Like, I'm sharing the imprint, the pattern, the experiences that I've had through me through the class.
Yeah.
And I think that's really why you have such a following, is that you actually practice every day.
And it looks different every day. It's not the same thing every day. And sometimes it's like on Friday I overslept. And so I didn't get it in all together. I actually did it throughout my day. I did some of it on my lunch break. I did some of it after work. It's like, but to me, it's like, I'm getting it, whether it's all together throughout the day, or it's like, I got to adjust. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to like leave this part of my personal practice off today, but I'm going to do this part. I'm going to do something.
100%. I could like make the donation in some way. I remember like at one stage in my life when my kids were little and I was working full time, that my practice was my lunchtime. And I would drive my car from the school building I worked at around the block and park underneath the tree. So I'd be in the shade. I'd bring the windows down so I'd have the fresh air. And I would meditate, like pull the seat back in the driver's seat. And I would do my meditation then. And it's like, there's a commitment there. Like, there's kind of a little bit of a no excuses. I know I need this. I'm going to make this work in my life.
Yes. It's the difference between motivation and discipline.
Yeah.
Motivation is when you feel like it, and discipline is, it doesn't matter what you feel like, you're doing it. Yeah. And it's like, some of my practices, like, you look pretty sloppy if it was somebody was looking at it, but it's like, I'm getting it done. And this practice builds and fosters discipline. I'm a Capricorn. I'm a disciplined person already, such I think of why it resonates, but it doesn't matter like what your sign is. You can find practices throughout this lineage is immense, and find something that really a la carte to you
in 10 minutes. So listen, I have a challenge, and I asked Mike before we started, are you okay if I throw you a surprise challenge? So this is it. It seems like it would sit nicely right here. So I am inspired by this 12-minute foundation training workout that we have linked to the foundation training page of the website that anyone can click. It's just from YouTube. It's public anyway. I just linked it to the page so that our clients could find it quickly. And I've been doing it every day, this 12-minute workout. I think you and I should each. I don't know. Do you think 12 minutes, or should we do a 20-minute Kundalini? Like, let's each record a 20-minute sadhana and have it on the webpage so that our clients can I'll link it. I'll download the little 20-minute video you send me from your phone, and I'll download it to YouTube and link it. Mm-hmm. Would that be groovy if we each do one?
Yeah.
How long do you think? Like, I want to give folks a bite-size daily practice. Like, you guys, Tony Robbins said, if you don't have 10 minutes a day to meditate, If you don't have 10 minutes a day to meditate in your life, you don't have a life. That kind of thing, right? Let's make
I would say
short.
15 minutes.
Let's do 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's interesting. I think that's really interesting because, again, you can find your flavor. And Tracy's is going to be totally different than mine because it'll just be off of like the things I like to do, and the things that Tracy likes to do sometimes overlap with mine. Sometimes Tracy's classes are really kind of triggering and activating for me. And that's why I come, actually, because I can do practices at home, but the ones that she does are the ones that I skip. You know what I mean? I'm not going to like make myself do that. But when I come here and make the commitment to be here, it's like, okay, this is what it is today. And I'm
going to practice.
Yeah. And you do the hard stuff. And that is even more rewarding and beneficial than even my personal practice, because I get comfortable in my personal practices because I like them. You know what I mean? And
that's why I picked them.
Yeah.
And honestly, you guys, if you're here on Sunday today, like today I cried. It was like a big practice for me. And you never know what's going to be like. It's like, I want to say pop a bubble. You never know when you participate in these kriyas and then sit in the meditation and just feel into yourself. You just don't know what little nuance, realization, release, right? Release. Like there's something. And sometimes at the end of class, I sit there and I'm still a little numb. You know, maybe I'm overwhelmed. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe it's just, you know, a peaceful day in the neighborhood. Maybe I chipped away at something that's going to give way tomorrow or the next day, right? Like whatever. It's not it's not consciously controlled,
right? But
often there's just like a little something that says, okay. The other day, excuse me, I'll just share one more. The other day I was practicing, and all of a sudden a voice in my head said, "That's over. That's over." And the emotion just like rushed out of my shoulders. And like my ego wants to be like, what's over? Yeah. Let's talk about it. Tell me the story so I can like Instagram about it. No, it's just something shifted. That's over. I got a release. And then I got up and did the laundry. Like, you know, like chop wood, carry water.
Exactly. And I would say what you talked about when you said chip away, that's what I was going to talk about. Kriya. The word Kriya means a completed action or like full manifestation, from like a seed to like the tomato plant giving you a tomato. Like that whole process is Kriya. And so when we are practicing a Kriya, it is hitting you on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level all at the same time. More efficiency, more Capricornedness that I love. But it's working. And every posture, say there, I don't know how many we had today, maybe 8 or 9, you know. So in 9 postures, that set of mental, emotional, spiritual, physical is moving through all 9 of those postures. And I think that's why the shifts are so profound. I think that's why they're so quick in a relative term. And that chipping away, I usually refer to it as like excavation. We are going inside. We're working actually from the inside out. So instead of you thinking of it coming in from an onion, from the skin to the core, we're actually working from the core out to the skin. You can even make that a physical. And that's this chipping away. So you don't know, you start chipping away on a boulder, you don't know like what pieces are going to come off. You're just there chipping away. And it's like you find the vein of gold that's underneath the rock, you know, and it's like you got to chip away at it, and you don't know where it is. Like the gold miners, they have a general idea that it's going to be here, but they don't know when they're going to find it or if they're going to find it. And I think that is the magic, the power, the kind of auspiciousness of this practice is like, you don't know when you're going to stumble on the gold mine, but it's in there. And also, I feel like the reward of the practice isn't happening in class at all.
It's like I tell people all the time, like, doesn't matter if you liked it, didn't like it. That's not the reward of the class. If you feel like it was a good class, it was a bad class. It's like you gotta wait until later today if you were patient with your loved ones. Tomorrow, how productive you are, how focused you can be. You wait sometimes a couple weeks, and exponentially over time, you're like, oh, I was kind of nicer to myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't, the rewards, the benefits, the rewards, the
Yeah.
accomplishment of it doesn't happen in class. That's
Well, it's happening in class, but you don't see the results until the review.
yeah.
You like see it,
Or to the integration into life. Even.
yeah. And then it's like you notice it's like, okay. And even when Ruby points out all my, yelling at people in traffic and I'm screaming at the windshield.
Ruby's my daughter. She's 12, so that'll help.
And she is my teacher, and but even becoming aware of the issue, not necessarily solving it all in one day or even in a couple of weeks, but then the awareness that these things are coming up. Like, read something before class today about nerve patterns in the body, and you can't align in your body what you can't feel. Mm-hmm. So when you bring it into awareness, you can't change it until you're aware of it, so it's like bringing the things into your awareness.
So you were talking today about like that road rage, like the underneath of that is you don't feel safe.
Yeah, it's fear.
It's fear
that manifests as anger.
Right.
But it was like I was fearful. And I think in a road rage situation, it's like we're all driving 70, the stakes are high, a couple wrong moves, and that's it. And I think that's why road rage is where it is
for
like,
a lot of people. Yeah.
It's high stakes. You think you're just driving in your car. Driving in your car is actually a really dangerous thing to do. It can be, especially when you have people that are unaware. Mm-hmm. And which is seemingly you pass people that like cut you off and they're just they're here, and then you're like, wow, you're really behind a 2,000-pound automobile that's moving through space at 70 miles an hour. That's a wild thing to witness. And so it's this fostering of awareness within yourself, and then where you are then can locate yourself in the world and like where you fit into things is invaluable because you're supposed to fit into a place. Me and my buddy, we had a late night phone conversation on Friday, which is why I was really tired. Talking about plants. He's the one that's really taught me how to garden, and talking about useful plants. We think about, stuff that we put in teas and stuff, right. Whatever the herbs we use to cook with and stuff as being beneficial as opposed to unbeneficial plants. There are no unbeneficial plants. You just have to know what their purpose is. And maybe they're not fitting your their role is not serving what you need. Weeds coming up in your garden are actually pulling minerals up to the surface for the other plants, but you don't know that because they're just in your way in your garden, and you think they're stealing nutrients from your tomato plant, and it's like it all has a role and it fits into a sense of place. Yeah. And then when a larger ecosystem. Yeah. And when you do your practice and you become aware, become self-aware, you figure out what the capability and capacity is of your plant, and then figuring out where you are in your ecosystem. And what's the cool thing about humans as opposed to plants is we can move around. Yeah. The plant is there. It is part of its ecosystem and it can't go anywhere besides letting off seeds and stuff. Yeah. But we can move our ecosystem. We can move out of like unhealthy patterns, unhealthy ecosystems and things. And what I was talking about today was talking about resonance. And most of what Kundalini is frequency and vibration, whether it's the way you're moving your body, whether it's the way you're breathing, whether it's the sound of the mantra, the sound of the gong. I mean, it's all based on frequency and vibration. And I think that's what kind of throws people off at first. But once you get it, once you get that resonance is what's putting you in your place and putting you in your correct ecosystem, and that you then build your ecosystem around your place
with a conscious awareness.
Yeah.
With like an intentional plan and purpose.
Right.
Like you now have like some sovereignty, some like freedom of control and your own free will to say, actually, I'm looking around and this is kind of a destructive ecosystem. And I actually do have power, and I have an energetic velocity that can move me through a change to have something else happen. I think that when people are new to Kundalini Yoga, they often will kind of raise an eyebrow or feel a little like resistant to the mantras and the sound vibration that we use. The gong, everyone like seems to love that. You know, you're laying down and the gong back comes through your biofield, and those vibrations are really tangibly rewarding and comforting, and most people are good with that. But when we chant, particularly the tune in at the very beginning, it's often the first like kind of side eye, what's going on here? What did I step into? And I want to use that just to say how exciting it is to be at this time when we have more and more understanding and appreciation of sound and frequency, the cymatics and the pattern that sound and frequency makes, the healing potential and the awakening potential that sound and frequency has. It's almost like Kundalini Yoga is seeing its time.
Yes.
Like now we're starting to talk about this. So when people come in, I'm saying the same things you are, is that this is you learning about your energetic instrument.
Yes. You said
go.
You said the word sovereignty.
Yeah.
And my kind of brand, if you will, is Sovereign Soul Kundalini. That was that quiet voice that you were talking about when you said it's over. That same quiet voice told me that like, this is what your thing's going to be called. This is what it is. And it is that sovereignty of the agency of making choice, being intentional, being an architect of your life and putting things where they fit and moving where you are in resonance. It's like, it's that power, it's the will, it is the awareness. And I keep hearing that word a lot lately, whether and it has to do with who holds the power. And it usually is referring to like a government or like some kind of a large organization. But like, it is what I'm talking about, sovereign soul. It's on a level of your soul. You have the power.
100%.
And when you know you hold the power and you can move into whatever frequency you wish, and then the they, the them, the governments, the whatevers, they don't hold any power over you. You are whole. That it is, you know, I think we've been using holiness with an H instead of a WH.
Yeah.
And I think that is when you come into that space of like really feeling into like the power. And I still haven't even gotten all the way there. I don't know if you ever get all the way there, of like the magnificence of like what it means to be human. And I was talking about this today in class about like, I really do think this is coming into its time. And I really do think that this is like really like the update. It's the systems update that the body needs to move into this kind of new era that we are moving into.
Exactly. When, you know, I follow all the people,
Right.
all the people for consciousness expansion. So Robert Edward Grant, Zach Bush, who else? Name them.
Molly McCord.
Yeah, Molly McCord, astrology, really, really good. Like so many people who are having Stuart Pearce, Alunya, so many people that are just having elevated conversations that are leading the way in terms of what the human is possible, and how claiming our sovereignty gives us access to our own innate skills.
Yeah.
Like our own innate skills. And the meditations and the practices and the work that allows us to bring the energy through our sovereignty and express it through with a path and a purpose ahead of us,
Yeah.
Like when they said, this is what it's going to be called. This is what you're going to do. This is the path for you. Right. And it's an exciting time because, we have people coming into the studio to do this style of yoga who are the people that follow these people that are having these conversations, that are curious about these things. And I'm just like so blanked out that I can't name like 10 more. I'm not going to pick up my phone and Instagram it, but like seriously, the number of people I follow who are about the expansion of consciousness and the evolution of humanity and this cosmology idea of,
tapping into like the wave of like how it's rippling out. And it's like, people are catching on to different things about it, but everyone is kind of seemingly understanding that it's one, getting bigger. We are moving into a different space. We are moving into a different thing of what it means to be human.
What's possible for us.
Yeah. I think about the kind of other subtext to like the textbook or like the teachings. It's the Aquarian teacher, but the subtext to that is called the possible human. And I really think that's what we're getting into of like what it really means to be human. We're trying to figure out, like, you get an owner's manual for your car. You don't get an owner's manual for what it means to be human. And we just have to figure it out. And it's like, they don't even know. They're still figuring it out. Like, what's going on?
One thing, I think we've gotten to the point where you can kind of see what isn't working.
Yeah, totally.
You can see the stuff that you're like, well, that's a misunderstanding.
Yes.
That's a disempowered choice or way of looking at things. Love the highest law. I mean, really just like keeping it that simple to say, this situation doesn't seem to have much love in it.
Right.
This situation seems to be born of hate and separation and division. And I can kind of see that maybe that's not where I want to sit. I don't think that's going to be my ecosystem.
Right.
But sometimes we find ourselves in the situation and then it's a little bit of energetic velocity, like I said, to kind of get out of it. But there's a little bit of rear view mirror available.
Yeah.
So,
and I think what my kind of role is, and what the kind of that quiet voice that you hear, that like whisper. And I think that's what the practice gives you, especially a daily practice of like, you tune in. I mean, that's why we tune in. I mean, it's almost a play on words, but it's like the
tune in. I'll just interrupt a quick second. There are 2 mantras. We chant them each 3 times. And it's not singing, it's chanting, which is just creating that vibratory field and offering it so that you can get on the right.
I explained it on Friday night as like this practice, this energy it's its own energy, and it's at a particular band of frequency. And when we tune in, we are coming up to meet it.
Like tuning in a radio. We're like, I want to be on this channel right now.
Yep. And you can find the first part of it is you're tuning into the field, you're tuning into the ong, the everything, and it's like we're tuning into that also. And then the second half of it is Guru Dev Namo. I'm tuning into my own inner guidance or my own inner teacher or wisdom. And it's like that is paring down from the whole down into the individual. And it's like that's the quiet voice that you're hearing.
Yeah.
It is.
It's like this, and it's like this starting ritual too that says, I'm here with me. I'm here with me now. I'm here with the highest self that I can be.
Yep. And I'm here with the field. I'm here with what's all going on. We're here with each other. We're matching resonance in that. And that is a powerful aspect of like when you get people in resonance and empowered, that's how you shift the world.
That's energetic synergy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is more than the sum of its parts. And I think once we get this to a critical mass of people, that it's going to be like the dam's going to bust wide open. And
Yeah.
so it's why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. I kind of feel like Paul Revere in a way of like you're trying to like run around and wake everybody up in the middle of the night. And I try not to do it as like you're trying to like walk around with a sandwich board, like the end is near kind of thing, but like of like letting people know that there's a different way to move through this world. And it's like it looks like it's falling apart. And there's parts of it that are falling apart. The question you need to ask yourself is, do they need to be here still? You know what I mean? It's like the things that are falling apart might be right on time and they might not be needed.
It's kind of like one of the laws of physics, like nothing leaves unless it's needed to leave. Things leave when it's time to leave, you know, things die when it's their cycle to die.
And nothing exists in a vacuum. Exactly. So something is taking its place. Mm-hmm. So the more we can get conscious and move again, create and architect what we want to be there,
the less concerning it is.
It is. And there are parts of it that are concerning. You know what I mean? And it's not to like bypass, like, we're just going to channel our way in this to like, you know, you move, you move through it to get to it. You know what I mean? There is no shortcut. This stuff is difficult. Moving through emotional blocks and things, it's like, it's not fun. But like the reward is like the discipline is its own reward. The creativity you unlock it can be incredible.
Creativity, productivity, also just a sense of freedom and a sense of, once again, like the sovereignty of the ownership, like that's a reward.
Yeah.
To like know you're sovereign and okay with yourself. Like me being okay with me, that's a much nicer situation than my anxiety, than my depression, than my confusion, you know, and it's a moving target.
Yeah.
But, you know, I get glimpses of it now, and there were a lot of years where I didn't. So I'm feeling like it's definitely a great practice. And let's just loop back around and tell folks where to find you. Well, first of all, remember to look on the website. It probably will be like a week or so, like give us a chance, but we're going to have 2 15-minute personal practice sadhanas. You call it sadhana, your personal practice that you can do every day. You can alternate my day and my day. You can alternate weeks. You can do 40 days one, 40 days another. That's a nice way to set a habit. But we'll have 2 on the website, on the page for Kundalini Yoga. And yeah, that's right. That's a good challenge. And then come see Mike out at Edgewater. What time? Fridays?
Friday evenings I tell everybody to show up at 6. You don't ever really know what's going on there as far as like activity, events, parking, all that stuff. So that you get a chance to get there, get situated. If you're new, you can kind of get things explained to you so that it's not a total blindside when we start. And that goes to, 7:15, 7:30 ish. It's a great way to like unload from the week.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to start your weekend of like, again, from that feeling of like freedom, liberation, like you're throwing off your week and you're welcoming your weekend. And I think it's great.
You can do it in a chair. So if you're like, I don't want to get down on the ground, bring a little pop-up camping chair or a chair that you're comfortable sitting in, a little folding chair. You can do Kundalini Yoga in a chair. You can use a blanket or a towel. You don't need a yoga mat. You don't need a sheepskin. Come as you are and leave as more of who you are.
Yeah.
That's our plan. Also, here at the studio, Sundays at 11 o'clock with Mike, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9:15 and 6 p.m. with me.
I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff going forward on my website, sovereignsoulkundalini.com.
It's going to be in the show notes.
Oh, great.
Let's do it.
And and I'm going to try to get it to as many different ecosystems as I can get it into. I think it's really adaptable. I think it's really a great accessory to whatever people got going on, schools, works, 100%. All that kind of stuff. You find it in unlikely places. Which is where I think it's needed the most. So excellent.
Thanks for chatting with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for following you guys. Check the notes, check for the videos, and come on into class. Bye now.